Already within a player zone, a neutral area for job-seeking players, a rugged, bearded man spots him and asks if it's his first time there. Junsu nods and says he's looking to join the mana purification business. Truth was, he needed money, and fast. Because in a gacha world like this, cash meant survival. The old man, introducing himself as Director Crow Xianyu, kicks his foot up onto the table and warns him, mana purification might sound fancy, but it's really just dungeon cleanup. Junsu nervously says he understands. Looking over his completely empty resume, Crow chuckles and comments on the lack of experience. But Junsu isn't worried. He knows full well that the job is absolute hell, and no one in their right mind wants it. That's exactly why they'll definitely hire him. Cleaning contaminated mana meant diving into dungeons and collecting the debris left by battles. Debris that leaked lethal levels of corrupted mana. Staying exposed for too long could mean death in seconds. But Junsu didn't flinch. Because if there's one thing he knows about Arcane Su, if you don't risk everything, you don't survive. In the corner of the room, a man clutched his head, dark aura leaking from his body, his voice trembling as he begged for help. But it was already too late. Before anyone could react, he transformed, his body twisting grotesquely, mutating into something monstrous. Without hesitation, one of the senior agents executed him on the spot. That was the harsh reality of exposure to contaminated mana. If it didn't kill you, it turned you into something that had to be put down. Seeing all this, Shu, the director in charge, simply nodded and said, "You're hired." He added that once enough recruits were gathered, Kim Junsu would be assigned to a team. Still, Shu advised him to seriously think it over. He'd seen countless rookies start out full of hope, only to turn into unrecognizable monsters. But Junsu only smiled and answered confidently, "Don't worry about it. If there's one thing I have, it's patience." And he meant it. After all, he had played 10,000 hours grinding for free in Arcane Su. If he had anything, it was patience and experience. Then the scene cuts to his future team, and to say the welcome was rough would be an understatement. The team captain stood in front of him, arms crossed, eyes glaring. His name? Day. Yeah, that's actually his name. And with those little horns poking out from his head, it kind of makes sense. Dia looked him up and down with open disdain. "So you're the new trash they are sending to us?" Confused, Junsu answered cautiously, "Yeah, I guess that's me." But he didn't come here to get roasted. Before he could say more, Dia grabbed him by the collar, pulling him close, his voice low and threatening. "You think this is a damn playground? Where's the fire in your eyes?" He promised Junsu would soon be begging for death once he faced an instant mutation firsthand. But Junsu didn't flinch. He just stared back, cool and collected, and said, "Fine. I'll stay aware." He remembered, in the game, Dia was the same. Always acting like a nightmare drill sergeant, always trying to scare new players out of their minds. The real mystery was why someone as unstable as Dia was still in our rank here. Word was he used to be completely normal, before awakening his powers, and those small demon-like legs. Before things could escalate further, another guy in a blue shirt ran over. "Come on, Dia. Stop bullying the rookie already. You know we're short-staffed." This was Red Hog, a veteran with 5 years of experience in mana purification. A lot calmer than Dia, and actually seemed like a decent guy. Still, Dia scoffed, clearly unimpressed. "I don't have high hopes for him. Just don't get in the way, rookie. That's all I ask." Then he turned on his heel and walked off, calling out, "We've got 5 contamination zones to clean today. Move it." Standing there, Junsu wasn't exactly thrilled about being humiliated like that. In fact, for some reason, Dia was even worse in real life than he had been in the game. But Red Hog just patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't worry about him. He's rough, but he's a good guy underneath all that bark." Junsu just sighed and said, "Okay then." He had no choice but to endure it. This was only the beginning. The next scene opens with the team standing before a metropolitan gate. The stench there was unbearable, thick and foul like rotting chemicals. But the boss, Dia, didn't even flinch. He just barked out, "Get ready. We're going in." The second he swiped his card and the gate creaked open, he was already shouting orders. "Positions. Move." Beyond the gate lay mountains of rubble, shattered buildings, and piles upon piles of debris. Lurking within them were creatures that looked suspiciously like slimes. But they weren't just any slimes. These were contaminated slimes, mutated by polluted mana. The real headache about these things wasn't their strength or even their toxicity. It was the fact that cutting them in half didn't kill them. The only way to take one down was to strike the hidden mana core inside their shifting, disgusting bodies. As the team scrambled, trying to keep the slimes at bay, Kim Junsu charged forward without hesitation. One of his teammates, mid-battle and half swallowed by a slime, turned to see Kim sprinting toward him, swinging a pickaxe. Kim shouted, "Sorry in advance. I'm not responsible for what happens next." With a single, sharp strike, Kim pierced the slime's core, just missing the teammate's leg. The slime instantly collapsed into a puddle of harmless goop. The poor guy nearly fainted on the spot. Meanwhile, another unlucky soul who got his manhood sliced by accident was trembling on the ground. But Kim wasn't stopping. He was already dashing from one slime to another, finding core after core, obliterating them in one clean hit each time. The rest of the team, and even Deer, were left gaping. It shouldn't have been possible. The cores were randomized inside the slimes. Even veterans struggled to find them quickly. How was this rookie landing every shot? Cue flashback, 2 days earlier. There was Kim, on all fours, digging through a playground like a lunatic. Families nearby pulled their children away in horror, whispering warnings to avoid the crazy guy. But then, eureka! Kim triumphantly pulled a 5,001 coin from the dirt. Because of it, he unlocked the treasure hunter trait, a skill absolutely crucial for any warrior Kim. While he celebrated, an old lady muttered to the kids, "Stay away from that madman." Little did they know, Kim was already plotting his next move. Next scene, he's hunched over a dumpster, gagging and vomiting into the trash. But it wasn't for nothing. Completing the challenge, he earned the contamination resistance trait. Yeah, it was disgusting, but totally worth it. In Arcane Su, just like the real world now, you could gain special traits by fulfilling weird or brutal conditions. Warrior Kim had 6 slots available for active traits and could swap them depending on the situation. Thanks to Treasure Hunter, Kim could now see the faint glow of mana cores inside enemies. That's how he was cutting through slimes like a hot knife through butter. Back to the battlefield. One of the slimes exploded, splattering the team with contaminated goo. Deer shielded himself and barked, "Don't swallow that mana." Meanwhile, Kim stood in the middle of the chaos, soaked head to toe in slime, grinning and saying, "Hard work always pays off." Warrior Kim really was the perfect class for a madman who thrived on grinding and effort. Of course, after acting like a total badass all day, reality caught up on the ride back. Kim collapsed on the bus seat, completely drained. Red Hog plopped down beside him and gave a friendly chuckle. "Thanks to you, we're clocking out early today." He clapped Kim on the back and added, "You're something else. Maybe you'll awaken like Deer someday." Kim just gave a half-hearted laugh and lied. "Nah, nothing like that. I just have a bit of military experience, that's all." Red Hog nodded in admiration. "Even so, you're amazing." But as Red Hog leaned back, horns began to poke out from his forehead. And he didn't even realize it. Kim noticed immediately. Without hesitation, he said casually, "Hey, maybe you should slow down a bit. Take a break from work before, you know. Because in this world, working too hard could literally turn you into a monster." But Red Hog just laughs it off and says he'd rather mutate than go back to living a life drowning in debt. In his mind, this world is perfect, a brutal mashup of Korean work hours, 25-hour days, mixed with the American healthcare system. Basically, the greatest hits of capitalism. Meanwhile, poor Kim just watches, thinking, yeah, guys like him don't really have many options. Fast forward, 4 days later. Once again, the cleanup job is done. Kim's the only one still standing, thanks to his poison resistance. Everyone else looks like they got run over by a truck. People are puking left and right. And sure enough, it looks like Red Hog is finally starting to mutate. Kim sighs, "I told you not to push yourself like that." That's when Deer appears behind him, smirking. He jokes, "Still full of energy, kid. Must be nice being so young." But Kim just gives a polite, humble answer. It's thanks to the team's hard work. Of course, internally he knows, it's 100% because of the traits. Deer plops down beside him, grumbling that he's dead tired. But before they can even catch their breath, a weird noise echoes through the site. They turn and see Red Hog wobbling, his body distorting unnaturally. The others rush over, trying to steady him, telling him to stay calm. "We're almost out of here, hang in there." But it's already too late. Red Hog's eyes glaze over, and in the blink of an eye, boom, an explosion rips through the area, knocking everyone flying. When Kim opens his eyes, the first thing he sees is a giant red foot stomping down hard onto the ground. His friend had completely mutated and lost all sanity. The saddest part about mutation, once it happens, there's no saving the person. And worse, if they don't kill him now, none of them are getting out alive. The real problem? Kim's current setup is all wrong. He had traits geared for cleaning up monsters, not fighting one. Looking around, he realizes the awful truth. We're screwed.